From a purely win freaking football games, please, stance, Graham Mertz is the most important Florida Gator in 2024.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever the podcast and on YouTube. Happy Monday. I am Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. And for the next few days, find me in Mexico. Just saying. Today's episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As playoffs wind down, the sports stop sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And like I said, I think that from purely a win football game standpoint, Graham Mertz is the most important Florida Gator for 2024. And I don't think you can really debate that. I know there's a lot of Florida Gators fans that love DJ Lagway. I love DJ Lagway. I think he's going to be a really good football player. 2024, though? I don't see it happening. I've been saying that, I love DJ Lagway, but a true freshman quarterback, like, I get there's some people who want to go, oh, start DJ Lagway right now, develop him. That's a very, how do I put this? That's a very video game approach to things where there's no real downside to playing a kid before he's ready. You hurt their confidence. That's not a thing in video games, right? It is in real life. But I think that for 2024, Graham, let's go with the team around him is built better. We're going to talk about the offensive line. We'll talk about them next. But the team around him is just better built for success in 2024 around him, right? You look at that, of course, quarterback in year two cannot be overstated how important that is for a team's success. We've talked about the Bo Nixes, the Jaden Daniels, the Michael Penixes, the everybody that we've talked about, Kyle Trask in year two. We've talked about it a ton. Year two, for an experienced QB, that's kind of when we expect you to take that little jump, right? Graham Mertz has that year two in the system as the starting quarterback the full time. That really matters. And Graham is not only going to have just year two, he's going to have year two with Trey Wilson, year two with Montreal Johnson, year two with Arlis Boardingham, year two with Khalil Jackson, year two with Hayden Hansen, year two with all of these guys. Like it's not just, oh, year two, he's here. It's year two with all of the players surrounding him. The biggest new addition is Elijah Badger. Outside of that, can you name me a guaranteed significant playing time receiver that Graham Mertz or pass catcher of any kind that Graham Mertz doesn't have chemistry with because he's got Chimere DK back? Like name a guy where you go, oh, he's a skill position player on offense, going to be a guaranteed contributor that isn't in his at least second year at Florida. Again, outside of Elijah Badger. You can't say any of the true freshmen are guaranteed to contribute significantly. No, this team's built on Graham's chemistry, but also just year two in the system, year two with Graham and his pass catchers. Again, offensive line we'll talk about. Deep ball is something that I do think that you see more of from Graham Mertz. I've had this thought process that I've said multiple times on the show, and I've said it in Twitter Spaces when I'm in there. I think in 2024, we see Graham Mertz at his completion percentage drop, his yards climb, his touchdowns climb, his interceptions climb, his average depth of target climb, Like I think we see all those things climb. Because I think when you see year 2 with Graham, you watch the offensive line in front of him. But I think that deep ball is what really benefits from him. Again, we will talk about the offensive line just as a unit in general. However, when we talk about how Graham will benefit from it, I've said before, I think when you look at Graham Mertz, you're looking at someone that is somewhat physically maxed out. He's not about to get all of a sudden a lot faster. He's not about to get a lot stronger all of a sudden. I think that when we talk about the deep ball, it's not, oh, he's just going to get a significantly better arm. I don't think that's going to be what happens. I think when we talk about the deep ball, we talk about the offensive line in front of him is better, and Graham Mertz can now step up into the pocket and deliver those throws better. Because Graham does not have the arm of Anthony Richardson or even a DJ Lagway, where they can be wrapped up and still let the ball fly and get some significant velocity on it and some significant distance. Graham is the kind of guy that needs to step into the throw when he's throwing deep. He needs to. I've been at Giants training camp. I've been watching Daniel Jones not do that properly. He doesn't have a big arm. It's that kind of stuff where he's not being able to step into the throw and deliver. And with Graham, he can't step into the throw and deliver because he's constantly getting hit. Offensive line last year was just horrible. And now he should have that time to step into the throws. I think that's where you see the jump. I think that's where you see the jump from Graham in 2024. Not that he's going to suddenly get a lot better physically. He's pretty mechanically sound. When we talk about a lot of quarterbacks that struggle with either velocity or accuracy, we go, oh, yeah, he improves a little bit mechanically. He improves this mechanically, gets himself actually in one fluid motion, and we're talking about a big developmental jump, right? Josh Allen. Josh Allen's the guy that I go, yeah, you look at what happened once he fixed his mechanics and he became a franchise quarterback. That kind of stuff, you're not going to see that from Graham because Graham already has pretty sound fundamentals. I think physically, Graham's somewhat maxed out. That doesn't mean he can't get better. Throw the ball away. Like you throw the ball away, you prevent yourself from being put in these end-long situations. Take what's there, step into your throws. I think this year's where we see Graham take that step because the supporting cast around him is better suited for him personally. And that's just where I view kind of the entire Gators team right now. More success depending on Graham Mertz. Unsurprisingly, the most valuable position in sports. There. And I don't care if anybody wants to disagree with that. It is the most valuable position in sports. No single position is more important for winning games in any sport. Baseball, nope, can't pick one position. Basketball, you could be like, oh yeah, it's this one guy, but that could be a point guard, they could be a small forward, power forward, center, whatever it is. I don't know why I chose to exclude shooting guard, but it could be anything. But quarterback, always. Graham, most important for the Florida Gators' success. But now we do have to talk about the offensive line. We're going to talk about the O-line next on Locked On Gators. Passion, drive, and patience. That's the formula for winning championships, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance with superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your parts guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash for the parts you need at the prices you want. It's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Now it's time to talk about the Florida Gators offensive line. Thank you for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day, every day. We are available daily and free by listening to the podcast. And the offensive line in 2023 was nothing short of absolutely horrible. Okay? Just want to get that one out there. Nothing short of absolutely horrible. I'm trying to see just how far they were low ranked on PFF, which I wish had better numerical representation here. But for Florida, Your offensive line in 2023 was one of the worst in all of college football. That's just simply a fact. We can cut on the film at any point, and you can see the Florida Gators offensive line giving up pressures pretty consistently. And that was the big thing, like I said, like with Graham, that was one of my biggest issues with Graham Mertz last year, is that he wouldn't throw the ball away, and instead he was taking sacks. I understand you're getting hit a lot. Get rid of the ball. But with the Florida Gators offensive line last year, it was so bad. They had everybody contributing as pass protectors. We talked about this all the time with Hayden Hansen. Hayden Hansen, there's the joke that Florida Gators fans like to make about, hey, he should be playing offensive lineman because he's in pass protection so much. He spent a third of his snaps last year in pass protection. A third. That's a lot. Okay, for a tight end especially, that's a lot. Arliss was at under 12%. Yeah. The Florida Gators last year allowed right tackle, starting right tackle, Damian George, allowed 29 pressures. That was the most on the team. Starting left tackle, Austin Barber, allowed 16. Austin Barber played 9 games. Richie Leonard, who is no longer here, allowed 16. Micah Mazuka, who's no longer here, allowed 14. Jake Slaughter at center played 11 games. He allowed 9 pressures. That's an incredible number, by the way. I want to throw that out there just to add context to it. Damian George is 29, really bad. Austin Barber, 16. Bad, not horrible. I think his bigger issue is that almost all of them are sacks. Or not almost all, but half of them are sacks, and that's a bad ratio to have. Jay Slaughter, 9 pressures allowed in 11 games, 330 snaps played. That's really good. That is a very high number there. And then you look at running back, Trevor Etienne, 7 pressures allowed. Cam Waits, 7 pressures allowed. Kingsley Walken, who's no longer here, 6 pressures allowed. Arliss Boardingham, 5 pressures allowed. Montrell Johnson, 4 pressures allowed. Dante Sanders allowed 3 pressures in 9 plays. Hayden Hansen allowed 3 pressures on his 75 pass blocking snaps. Jonathan Odom allowed 2 in his 14. Lindell Hudson allowed 2 in his 96. Very efficient as a pass blocker. Okay? Najee Harris allowed 1 in his 86. Things like that, where some of those numbers are really good. Najee Harris's numbers are really good. Again, smaller sample size, played more against worse teams, sure. But you look at this offensive line last year, allowing what I'm just going to throw the math together kind of quickly, just because, we can do that. Returning pressures allowed, this team is at a grand total of what? Trayon Webb allowed 1, Najee Harris allowed 1. 75 returning pressures from this team last year. And the offensive line was obviously the overwhelming majority of them. I mean, almost half of those pressures came from Damian George. Offensive line was horrible last year. This year, you've got left tackle Austin Barber is back and healthy. Left guard, probably Najee Harris. Center, Jake Slaughter, very good pass blocking numbers. Najee Harris, again, very good pass blocking numbers, although limited reps. Right guard, Damian George. Damian George was bad at right tackle. I'm not saying he's going to be good at right guard. I do think, or Damian George would likely be the starter at right guard. Bad at right tackle. I'm not saying he's going to be good at right guard, but I do think that he'll have significantly better pass blocking numbers at right guard. You have more help on the interior. That's just a fact. You have more help in pass protection. And then right tackle, Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon, pretty damn good pass protector last year. And then you look at this team's improved on paper. Yeah, the game isn't played on paper, right? But to make any assessment about 2024, you have to go, well, what do they look like? What are we expecting with the projection? And the offensive line, the projection is a lot better than it was in 2023. That's the projection, a lot better. Not even saying that they're going to be good, because even if you're average, you're better than you were last year. And so on paper, this team improved. On paper, you've got a new left guard, you've got a new right guard, you've got a new right tackle. And it's the first offseason where Jake Slaughter is practicing as the starting center. I think that's important. Again, I mentioned that a lot. Last year, Kingsley Walken got hurt right before the Utah game. Jake Slaughter was not spending the entire offseason as a starter. This year, he is. That matters. Center, third most important position on the offensive line. It's left tackle, right tackle. I don't care what order you put them in. They're pretty interchangeable at this point. Offensive tackles, and then center. That's what it is. So yeah, it matters. Center, when I started covering college football and the NFL draft, center was thought of as long as you're smart, that's all that matters. Now, with how many good interior pass rushers there are, center is a premium position now. It's considered a premium position by a lot of folks now. And also in 2024, you've got so much better depth on the offensive line. It's incredible how much you improved your depth through high school and the portal. It is. Depth, way better. Again, on paper, significantly improved. Games not played on paper, but it's improved. And that matters. We'll talk about that this week, about how having that improved offensive line will open up everything. Your run game, your passing game, the play action pass is going to open up a lot more too. Offensive line, you got to hold up. Like I said, it's improved on paper. The game isn't played on paper. If they are not considerably better than they were last year, going to be in for a long one again. And this is a conversation I had a lot last year. It doesn't matter most of the time what play call you have if your offensive line's getting beat almost immediately. That's what they were. I'm just curious. I want to go back to 2020 for Florida, and I'm just going to look up these numbers now to see what Florida's pass blocking numbers were like in 2020, just because people try to bring up the Dan Mullen years, and that COVID year, 2020, was when they, made it to the Gene Delance allowed 40 pressures. Richard Garage allowed 19. Stone Forsythe, 16. Stuart Reese, 14. Brett Hagee, 7. That is a lot of pressures allowed. Similar to last year, a lot of pressures allowed. You had one guy allow the overwhelming majority, or considerably more than anybody else. Two guys around 16. One guy around 15, and then one guy slightly below 10. That's what it was like there, where you're like, oh, the offensive line is horrible. Most of the time, you don't get the privilege of having Kyle Pitts and Kadarius Toney there. Offensive line play matters so much for you. And again, like I said, I don't care how good of a schemer you are. Eventually, bad offensive line play will catch up to you. It's a fact. Call up to Florida in 2023 quickly. Things went downhill quickly there, and they never really recovered. Defensive line was also another spot that really struggled. We'll talk about that next on Locked On Gators. Today's episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, and I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. And I'll tell you, like I said, Mexico, I placed bets before I left. I did. I'm not going to lie to you. I placed bets before I left for Mexico. This summer, FanDuel, hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. All summer long, including Dinger Tuesdays. Just saying, Dinger Tuesdays, they slap. Head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. And remember that FanDuel is an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free reviews in the podcast and on YouTube. Defensive line is the next group that I'm going to say is the most important for success. Because I think last year the defensive line being so bad was not overlooked, because I think a lot of people acknowledge how bad the defensive line was. But I don't think people realize just how much of an impact that had on things, how bad they were. I've brought up the numbers before. We could look at them again. Just looking at stuff like pressures, because the big complaint that I had with the defensive line, that I think a lot of Florida Gators fans had with the defensive line, was that nobody was generating pressure for Florida unless there was a blitz. Okay? And I've said before also, I don't care how people feel about him. I'm not trying to change your opinion of him. You're not going to change my opinion of him. Princely Umanmielen was a damn good pass rusher for Florida. Okay? Factually, damn good pass rusher for Florida. Okay? He's gone. He was the only guy that was creating on his own consistently. Caleb Banks had 2 pressures per game. Princely had 4. Kelby Collins had 1.5 pressures per game. Tariq Sapp, Scooby Williams, Derek Wingo, Chris McClellan, 1 pressure per game. Everyone else less than 1 pressure per game. That's horrible. Just want to throw that out. That's horrible. You've got 2 guys accounting for 6, and then a rotational player too. Kelby Collins didn't even play that much. Really productive on his reps, but didn't even play that much. Florida needs to be able to generate a pass rush. Caleb Banks has reportedly taken a big step this year. And for him, a big step is just doing things more consistently. That's it. That's what it is for Caleb Banks. He showed flashes last year. He just didn't string together anything with any sort of consistency. The hope is that now he's apparently taken a step. Now, I've talked about this before too. I think Gerald Chapman is big for Caleb Banks specifically. I think he's his kind of defensive lineman. So I think that Caleb Banks could take that next step. Cam Jackson, I don't think he's ever going to be a good pass rusher. I've said that multiple times. I will stand by that. And it's not I understand it's not a nice thing to say. I'm not saying he's bad. I think he's a good nose tackle. Pure gap stopper. Not going to be a big pass rusher. TJ Searcy, I'm very high on what he can become. LJ McCray, very high on what he can become. There's a lot of guys where you go, oh, they can become pretty good pass rushers. Tariq Sapp, doesn't move me, his film. Justice Boone, who knows? I think that people have really high expectations for Justice Boone, and I'm not entirely sure why. Not a knock on Justice Boone. We haven't seen him play like that. Justice Boone he hasn't played like that. He's played what? 300 snaps in his career? Something like that? That's not enough to evaluate whether a guy's actually really good or really bad. It's nothing. I mean, Jordan Castell played what? 600 something snaps last year? In 1 year, he played more than double what Justice Boone played in his career, and we want to make an assumption or make an evaluation of Boone? I don't think you could say he's good or bad. You don't know what you have with him. Tariq Sapp, like I've said, didn't really move me as a pass rusher. Didn't. Scooby Williams was your what, 4th best pass rusher? And he was an off-ball linebacker. He was just really successful as a blitzer. Derek Wingo was your next best pass rusher. Off-ball linebacker, just really good as a blitzer. There was nobody finding success consistently and consistently winning their battles on that defensive line as a pass rusher other than Princely Umanmiele. That's it. Nobody else was doing it consistently. Again, Caleb Banks showed flashes, didn't do it consistently enough. Tariq Sapp even showed some flashes, but I don't know. I don't view him as really a mover. That's just a hard sell for me to be like, yeah, he moves me, he moves the needle. I don't see it. Also, I think that it's important to acknowledge how bad they were run defensively. They were bad as just pure run stoppers. And not even run stoppers, run defenders. Because you don't need to win the rep, stack shed, make a tackle in order to win the rep. I need you to do your job and not lose so that linebackers can come up and make plays. And I do think that the linebackers last year were just bad. I do. But Cam Jackson, damn good. Tariq Sapp, pretty damn good run defender at times. I think he was more consistent as a run defender than a pass rusher. I don't think anybody's really going to argue that with you. I think you've got a few guys that kind of pop. Jamari Lyons last year in his limited snaps, pretty damn good. I think right now it's about piecing things together with a defensive line and linebackers as run defenders. Defensive line needs to hold their own. Linebackers need to fill the gaps properly. But the defensive line last year was bad in run defense too. We saw that consistently. And I know everybody likes to go, oh yeah, well, Princely this. It wasn't just Princely. Princely wasn't trying on some reps, sure. But it wasn't just Princely that struggled as a run defender. It wasn't just him, even on the defensive line, it wasn't just Princely that struggled as a run defender. There were quite a few guys out there that consistently struggled with things. I don't think Caleb Banks was very good as a run defender last year. However, This year, they're supposed to be better, right? If they're not better, good luck defensively. Need a good pass rush. Can't cover forever. Need a good pass rush without blitzing and sacrificing coverage on the back end. Got to do it. Find success. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day, we are available daily and free ways to the podcast and on YouTube. We'll be back tomorrow. Talk more Florida Gators football for Locked On Gators. I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Giants Country and NFL 33, and I'll see you all next time.